So, again, I'm not just picking on EarthBound in particular. I hate this kind of thing when it pops up in any RPG. And I mentioned, too, that I like a lot. Final Fantasy IV, Breath of Fire 2, it does the same thing. Breath of Fire 2 has a character named Cat, and she is a cat. And she uses sticks in combat. That's her weapon. And her best weapon is called the Meow Stick. That's something that every player that plays Breath of Fire 2, especially considering the cat is probably the most popular character from that game. Everybody loves this character. She's super powerful. She does a ton of damage. Having her best weapon, first of all, is really important because with her attack command, she can do more damage than basically anybody else in the game can do with anything. Brain Shock didn't do a lot for me the first time I looked at it. I think it just made enemies feel strange. What does Brain Shock Omega do? Makes all the enemies feel strange. I could have seen that coming. But, so you're playing the game. She's a fan favorite character. You want her attack power to be as high as you can possibly get it, because that's her whole shtick. Stick, get it? Is being able to do a lot of damage with her attack command. And then you find out her best weapon in the game is called the Meow Stick. Every player is going to want that. Every single player in Breath of Fire 2 is going to want that. But you can only get the Meow Stick if you farm enemies for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I've done it. God help me, I've done it. I played Breath of Fire 2 a couple years ago when it first came out on the Wii Virtual Console. And a bunch of characters in that game have weapons. You have to farm off of monsters, and God help me, I did it. Ah. But that's how I feel about the Sword of Kings in this game. I don't see the value of having that kind of thing in the game. I just don't understand. So, I'm not going to farm up the Sword of Kings. We're not going to have 7 episodes where I spend running around fighting. You're seeing the Starman monsters that you fight down here in the base. There's like golden ones later in the dungeon that have a really, really, really low chance of dropping the Sword of Kings. And they're not the only monsters in the game that drop good weapons. Kefka's best weapon, I think everybody's best weapon in the game, drops off of a monster at somewhere in the game. Dodif is the only one, though, that it's something that every player is going to want because it's so unique to his character. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make any sense. But the reason I brought up Final Fantasy VII and Nibelheim in the piano mini game is if the Sword of Kings was like a subquest, if there was like a hard dungeon here's how I would set it up. Check this out. Okay. I would have an item that drops off Starmen. Not just the gold Starmen, because after you clear this dungeon, you can't go back to it. It doesn't let you back in. So if you don't get the Sword of Kings on your first pass, you can never get it again. That's kind of a separate issue. Whatever, that sucks. What I would do is I would have an item that drops off any Starman in the game, including the ones you find in this dungeon, because you can kind of fight them, as many of them as you want. You're probably going to fight quite a few of them just going through the dungeon, right? I think I'm lost. I'm not lost. I know where I am. I would have an item that drops 1/10 of the time. 10% drop rate. So over the course of the game, you're almost guaranteed to find this item. Like, it's not an absolute guarantee because it's still a percentage chance, but you fight enough Starmen over the course of the game that you can reasonably say, oh, every player is going to find this particular item. I would have that key open a door in Dalam to a very, very difficult dungeon. Not a long dungeon. A couple of screens, maybe. And at the end of that dungeon, I would have a little bento box that contains the Sword of Kings. That's how I would design it. Nobody asked for my opinion on it. I understand. When they were designing EarthBound, nobody wrote a letter to Brickroad and asked, hey man, what do you think about, this whole Sword of Kings dungeon? Although, if you're going to ask, I was facing him! I was facing him! That, my friends, is some grade A baloney. That's right. I'm going with baloney. Oh goodness. That's how I would have done it. every character in the game, and then have a NPC standing next to that dungeon saying, nobody knows how to open this door, something called the Starman stole the key. Every player who goes through EarthBound is reasonably going to find that key because it's got a 10% drop rate. Still random, but not so random that you have to farm for hours. I've probably fought 10 Starmen just since I've been talking about this. One of them would have dropped the key, and that way it's a side quest that develops the character a little bit, and so players don't really have to go out of their way to find this particular item. The higher drop rate percentages, I'm fine with. The like a 10% drop rate is fine because players don't have to spend hours. It's going to kind of happen naturally over the course of the game. One of my other favorite RPGs, actually it's not. I was going to say it's a little newer than EarthBound, but I don't think it is actually. They either came out the same year or very close to, because I'm talking about Suikoden. It's a PS1 RPG, which is why I thought, oh, it's newer than EarthBound. It's on PS1, but no, it was one of the earliest PS1 games, and EarthBound was late in the SNES life cycle. So yeah, they're contemporaries more or less. Suikoden has one of the clearest pictures of a 100% completion rate I've ever seen in an RPG, because you can recruit 108 characters for your army that you build over the course of the game. And some of these characters that you recruit have random chance involved with them. This guy's only here 10% of the time, so you have to run in and out of the map over and over and over until the guy finally shows up. But it only takes usually 10 times. You don't spend hours and hours doing it. That I think is okay. One character requires an item that only randomly drops off. No, I'm sorry. 2 characters require items that randomly drop off monsters, but the drop rate is high enough that it's going to happen eventually. It's not something that takes a lot of work to get. Did I miss the treasure box? No, I got it. Okay, so we're fine on the treasure box accord. Anyway, Suikoden has... This is the guy that drops the Sword of Kings right here, the Gold Star Man. Anyway, Suikoden has... One of them is called the Toe Shoes, which you need to recruit the Dancer Lane. The other is the Nameless Urn, which you need to equip your Appraisal Guy. And of course these guys have a Psychic Power Shield. Of course they do. Can we please eliminate this guy before 7 Red is dead? No, we cannot. Both of these items have drop rates. They only drop off a particular monster. I'm pretty sure both of them are clued in-game. Like, both of them say, hey, this particular monster drops this particular item. I think. It's been a while since I played Suikoden, and it's been a while since I've had to look up how to get those 2 items, so I can't be totally certain of that. Well, he's got a Psychic Power Shield, so I guess we're gonna take him out just like this. Anyway, it's done well, because the random chance thing, it's like... I don't want to give an actual number, because somebody out there in the comments will know the actual number and correct me, but let's say it's 10%. And these are drops that come off of monsters that you're going to fight tons and tons and tons of over the course of the game. This is going to take forever. I don't want to kill the robot first, because he's going to blow up and kill half my party. I definitely want to kill the super first. And I can't use PSI. Is Kefka homesick again? For God's sake. For God's sake, how could he be homesick again? I just called Mom just now. We just exited this dungeon and called Mom. I don't get it. I don't get it. Ugh, that's so obnoxious. I don't even have an exit mouse. I've got to go all the way to the end of this dungeon now and get an exit mouse and fix this homesickness issue. Alright. There's no other way to fix homesickness that I'm aware of except to call Mom. And this game came out before cell phones were a thing, so that's that. So we're just going to have to deal with Kefka sucking for a minute. That's really a pain in the butt. I just called her. You guys saw it. You guys were there. I used my only exit mouse to get out of the dungeon and call Mom. I even checked my status screen and it no longer said homesick. I wonder if there's a monster in here that's causing it. Is there like a monster attack that causes homesickness? I should look that up. I'm not going to because I would have to pause the game, and I don't want to pause the game, but... That really sucks. I wonder if Dadov's mirror ability... I said it was useless. I don't know for a fact that it's useless. Maybe we'll play around with it a little bit in this dungeon and see if it's actually useless or not. Broken harmonica. I got all this broken stuff, but I can't actually get to a hotel to fix any of it. Mirror the Starman Super. Okay, so now Dadov is a Starman Super. That's interesting. And I can't control him, so hopefully what he does is cool. He fired a beam. No, that's fine. Lost all motivation in battle. Wait, what happens if Dadov calls for help and he calls another Starman Super? Do I get another Starman Super on my team? Or is it just not going to work? It's going to be one of those things that just never ever works. I'll bet. Anyway, I'm getting all salty about this dungeon. I've had a couple dungeons in a row that have been kind of obnoxious. At least I'm managing to get a lot of surprise attacks, which is nice. I wonder if I have him mirror the robot, if he'll fuel supply my guys up and heal them. Worth a try, I suppose. Could not turn into the atomic power robot. Now, see, that's the thing about Dragon Quest and EarthBound style games. Is like, does that mean that it's impossible, or does it just mean that he attempted it and failed? So let's try it again and just... He could not. Okay, so I'm going to assume that means it's impossible. But again, I have no idea. Like, how am I supposed to know if it's possible or not? I like clear and unambiguous messages to the effect of this thing you're trying to do is not possible. And EarthBound denies me that. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not super salty about it. I looked up on the internet because sometimes there are ways to like kind of cheat when it comes to getting super rare drops. The RNG generator in these old consoles is not perfect, and sometimes there's ways to manipulate it to the point where, okay, if you do X, Y, Z commands in that order, the RNG seed will be at a place where your thing's going to drop when you want it. I looked up to see if there were any tricks. EarthBound is a beloved game by millions of players around the world. It has a very, very intense fan community on the internet. I figured if any game has a method for gaming the drop cycle off of monsters, it's going to be EarthBound. I wonder if, in the over a decade it's been since I've seriously played this game, anybody has figured out how to manipulate the Sword of Kings. Let's look it up. And, I mean, there are strategies out there. Unfortunately, the strategies involve leveling up until you're high enough where a green swirl gives you an insta-kill on the Starman Supers, and that's really how it's done. You have to level up so high that the Sword of Kings is no longer useful, and that's the best way to get the Sword of Kings. So, unfortunately, unfortunately, we're not going to be doing it that way. Bottom line is, we're going to have to finish the game without the Sword of Kings, and even though I know it's not, like, required to beat the game or whatever, it's something I would like to have from the perspective of what little tiny bit of character development is in EarthBound to begin with. The Sword of Kings adds value to the game. The gameplay style of getting it, which involves farming these gold starmen forever, adds no value. So, it would be, like, a lot of times when I talk about gameplay that I don't like, I try to couch it in terms of I understand why it's like that. I don't like using the phrase bad game design unless I really, really mean it. Usually if I could conceive of a type of player who would enjoy the game design that I'm complaining about, I won't say, oh, it was just bad design. When it comes to the less than 1% chance of getting a weapon to drop off monsters, I'm going to say bad design. I'm going to call it. I'm going to go there. And that's how I feel about it. Because I don't understand what value it adds to the game. I have never in my life met a player who likes the rare drop system in these kind of games. So I'm just going to go there. Put me on record. Brickroad 2015. 1 in 128 drop rate chance off of a monster is bad design. Booyah, drop the mic. I'm not actually going to drop my mic because that would sound awful to you guys. It would just be like a loud crashing sound. And also, my mic, like, the wire has to run across the room, and I don't want to accidentally unplug it from the computer, because then when I plug it back in, it probably won't get recognized right away, and it just causes a lot of problems. Let's just pretend like I dropped the mic. I'm going to take... Okay, I don't have a mic. Hold on a second here. I have here a harmonica on my desk. Harmonica. There it is. Brickroad 2015. Super low drop rates, bad game design. Drop the harmonica. Looks like it's still in good shape, though. Yep. Not a broken harmonica. We're not going to go to the inn and have Dustle repair it and make something good with it. I need to make sure that 7 Red doesn't die here. Oh, wait, the regular Starmen I can just freeze. That's right. It's only the Super Starmen that have the PSI shield. Why do I have a harmonica? That is a good idea. I'm glad you asked that. I have a harmonica because I don't know why. One day, Peanut went to Old Navy or something and bought me some clothes because I was out of pants that fit me because I'm a fat bastard and I'm only getting fatter as time goes on. And she came home with a couple new pairs of pants and a pair of really nice cargo shorts that I enjoy. And a harmonica. And she said, here, I got you this harmonica. It was in the checkout line. I thought you might like to have it. So now I have a harmonica and it just sits on my computer desk. And sometimes I blow it. I do. I just, like, I don't know how to play it. I have no idea how to play, like, a song on a harmonica. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a thing anybody can actually do. But I have it. That's why. And I just dropped it for you guys. Brickroad 2015, bad game design, EarthBound. Got it. I really thought that I would be done with this dungeon by now. I'm... Ugh. Ugh. I started thinking about Pepsi and began to crave drinking it. I'm homesick as well. I can't believe Kefka got homesick that quickly. We have not had a homesickness problem like basically the whole game, because I've been on point calling Mom and making sure that that didn't happen, but nope, not no more. I think we're pretty close to the end of this dungeon, though. We're getting to the point where I can just grab another exit mouse and leave.